Welcome to Mum Abroad's YouTube channel, where we'll be interviewing fabulous women who live in Spain, France, Italy, and Germany, all with their own stories to tell. My guest today is Carrie Frace. Carrie is a former TV and radio presenter from the UK. She relocated to Barcelona in 2007. She's co-founder of FIG, a creative communications agency. She has her own radio show, Carry On Talking, and she's also founder of Mum Abroad. She lives in a village north of Barcelona on the Maresme coast with her British husband, 2 children, 2 cats, and a dog. Welcome, Carrie.
Hi, Jane. Lovely to be here. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So nice to have you as my first guest.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. So far, so good.
So far, so good, yes. Mm-hmm. We are currently entering week 12 or week 13. I've kind of lost count of the weeks exactly of lockdown here in Spain. A difficult time for many families, I think, particularly working parents who have to juggle children and work from home. But it's also been a time, I think, for many people to reset, to spend quality time with their families. So a mixture, I would say. Carrie, how have you found this period of isolation?
I think it really depends on what day you ask. I mean, some days you could ask me and I could say it's possibly the best thing that could have happened. And then other days, and I just want to scream and leave my family behind me. And it is that kind of roller coaster of emotions that most of us have never had to experience in such a short amount of time, because all of us have got our worries. Most people have been affected financially, the uncertainty of the future, the uncertainty of the virus itself, the worry for your children and how their future is going to be. But then the upside is, of course, is spending time at home. Time. This is what we've all been short of for so long, and it's been a complete joy at times to be able to get up without an alarm and spend every waking hour in my own house without the deadlines and the rushing around and the extracurriculum stuff that the kids get up to. And so in that respect, it's been fantastic. So overall, I would say a positive experience, and that's taking into account, the really bleak days too, because I think, let's face it, they all help us develop resilience and become stronger people for the future.
Sure. They make us appreciate what we've got, don't they, as well, those bleak days, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's exactly has been my case. I'm very lucky to have, a reasonable sized house with a garden, which I've really enjoyed. And, the kids are at a good age as well. I mean, I really feel for the parents who've got very young children. Mine are 11 and 13. So they're pretty self-sufficient, but they're not old enough to want to be out the house the whole time seeing their friends. So it's in that respect, it's been a really enjoyable time, and yeah, absolutely appreciated lots of things.
I also have a house and a garden, as you know, so really, really grateful for that during this period. Imagine what it's been like for families who have been in flats in the city centre. I think that must have been really, really difficult, a real struggle. For me, I agree with you completely. Ups and downs, good days and bad days. I would say more good than bad for sure. I love my house. I love being at home. So very comfortable kind of being forced to stay at home. That hasn't bothered me at all. But I do miss having the house to myself. That feeling in the morning when either you take your kids to school and you come home, perhaps you're working from home, you get home and you kind of just have that moment of, everybody's in their place. Now, I'm at home and I can do what I want to do in my own time as I need to do it. Or your partner takes your children to school and the minute everybody's out the door, you kind of stand there in the kitchen and you have that moment of like peace and quiet after a little bit of chaos. And then you get on with your day. And I'm so used to having the house completely to myself in the day that I have found that quite tough. Not having that moment of like, now I can relax and now I can do what I need to do. I've got 3 children, as you know, so it's been full on for me at home there's always one of them that needs something or wants something. So I would say that that's been something that it's taken me a while to adapt to, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with that, because I don't think I've ever been, well, none of us really have been for such a long period of time with all our family around us all the time. So yeah. And kids two cats and a dog, as you mentioned, and sometimes you just got to escape somewhere to the bathroom for a long time just to have some P&Q, But yeah, and the quality time thing, it's interesting you mentioned that, but actually I kind of feel a little bit guilty. Sometimes I feel the reverse, because the kids are around so much. I'm perhaps not giving them the attention they should do, and they normally get maybe on a day when you haven't seen them at school day, because you are seeing them their breaks and their lunch and their after school, and it's a bit, I sort of feel like, you hear stories, don't you, children sort of learning 12 languages and taking out the xylophone or something. My children haven't learned anything, but life skills, Jane, I think, maybe.
Definitely, they've learned a few different things.
Yeah, they boil an egg now, you know
that. We mentioned briefly about, we both live in houses and we both got gardens, so very privileged in this situation. When you first came to Barcelona, you were living in the city centre, I believe. So what made the decision for you to move outside into the kind of the village in the countryside?
Yeah, no, we moved into the city centre because we were, childless at the time. We had relatively decent disposable income. We wanted to be in the centre of the city and enjoy, Barcelona with its vibrancy, its bars and its restaurants. And when I was pregnant, we were living in a 2-bedroomed apartment in Elborn, beautiful Elborn, great place to live. Again, if you're just a couple. But then as soon as my eldest daughter was born and she started crawling and putting her head through the balcony bars, looking down below, I was thinking, maybe this is not so suitable. So, a few people started talking about the Maresme area, which I didn't know anything about, because a lot of people, particularly from the international community, when they move out and they start having families, they go south to places like Castelldefels and Sitges. And Maresme at the time, so we're talking sort of 10 years ago, was relatively untapped. Wow. And I moved to a really lovely village called Alea, which I know is where you live, wine growing region of Maresme, and I now live a little further out in Cabrils. But the reason is, in answer to your question, you get more for your money, whether you're renting or buying, more space, you've got mountains as a backdrop and you've got the sea, down the road. It's an amazing place to live, and 20 minutes away is Barcelona, so it's the best of everything, really.
Yeah, you have everything here, for sure. Agree with you wholeheartedly on that, yeah. So you mentioned that you moved out just after the birth of your first child. You also founded Mum Abroad around the same time, is that right? Can you kind of tell us a bit about how that came about?
Yeah, unexpectedly, actually. My background, as you mentioned in the introduction, is journalism, and a good friend of mine at the time was an internet marketeer expert, and we found ourselves with 2 tiny babies in a city that was not our own, without family close by, and really not having a clue about parenthood. We were both pretty useless at being new mums, I have to say. So that, combined with being in an unfamiliar city, and also not just being familiar with the cultural surroundings of motherhood that Barcelona had to offer, and to be honest, there was very little, because a lot of women, when they become mothers, they spend most of their time with their own mothers. It's still very much that traditional setup where the grandparent helps the daughter. It's certainly in the first 6 months while they're off work, and it was just so challenging that time. So in desperation and purely selfish reasons, we put together Mum Abroad, which was initially Barcelona Mum, I should say, which was recommendations for family-friendly restaurants, activities to do with babies, where to breastfeed in public without getting looked down upon by the waiter, shops that you could get good value nappies, all this kind of stuff that now, I mean, is pretty much omnipresent, but at the time we were for it. So that's how it started, and then, as you know, grew organically and became Mum Abroad to cover the whole of Spain, and then more recently France, Germany, and Italy.
Since I've been working with you, Carrie, we've worked quite a lot on our Women in Business directory. It's a part of the job that I'm passionate about. There are so many fascinating women, not just in Barcelona, all over Spain, and equally in Italy, Germany, and France as well, who have had to kind of recreate themselves, transform themselves since living abroad, since having children, and they've been, finding themselves or looking for a different career path. So it's been fascinating to talk to these women and watch them grow. Was that part of your plan in the beginning, to have a platform for female entrepreneurs, or was that part of the organic growth?
It was the latter, part of the organic growth, as you said, and it has been a complete delight, a joy to give a platform to these women because they are so talented at so many skills. And as with the case of many women, they're pretty useless, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, at self-promotion. So the great thing about Mum Abroad is that we can give them the platform through our Women in Business section, and then through social media, and now through the YouTube channel to promote them. And I think women are the way that we want to use this YouTube channel is to tell their stories, because a lot of women don't like to sell their product, but their story or their backstory, the reason why they invented themselves, is the reason often why you end up buying their product, because it's got sort of soul, it's part of them. And I'm thinking now of so many different women as I'm saying this who are those particular entrepreneurs, and it's really, really exciting to be able to do that.
You're buying into people's stories, aren't you?
Yeah.
Not necessarily a product or a service, but the story, the emotion behind that person as well.
Yeah, I'm just sorry, just to carry on. I mean, a lot of these women have had skills that have been latent, and they've gone into motherhood, and a lot of women have been out the workplace for several years, and then post motherhood it's given them an opportunity, because they've been at home, they've got more flexible hours, to bring some of these often very artistic, creative skills into the forefront. And that's why it's so exciting, because that often they have a really original product that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Carrie, I know that you used to live in London, you come from London, you're passionate about the city, but you're also passionate about Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. Can you imagine that there'll be a point in the future where you'll go back and live in the UK?
It's funny, at the beginning of this coronavirus outbreak, I felt extremely homesick, and I can still use the words homesick. I guess London, as I was brought up there, born there, it's still my home. And I had this real desire to go back there. I couldn't really explain it because my parents aren't around, but there was something inside me that felt I had to be there. Less so now. It must be something to do with the sun coming, being able to sit and drink cava on my terrace. That sounds terrible. I don't do that very often, just by the way. But having said that, there is quite a lot I still miss about the UK. There's a lot I don't miss. So I guess, the perfect scenario, should that ever be the case, and I've become a millionaire, would be to have some kind of foothold in both places.
Carrie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. If there's anybody out there that does want to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
The best way is via email, and the email address is info@mumabroad.com. So I'll be looking forward to hearing from lots and lots of talented female entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
What do you love about where you live?
I love the space, the mountains, and great friends nearby.
Your favourite weekend activity in summer?
Ooh, a barbecue with good friends, good wine, great food, and the sunshine, which is normally the case.
And your favourite activity in winter?
The same. throw a quiz in there.
One piece of advice for families thinking of relocating to Barcelona?
I would say it's a fantastic lifestyle that you won't regret, but finding decent job opportunities can be a challenge. So you need to be a little bit creative in that respect.
Your favourite beach in the Maresme?
There's a lovely little beach called Playa de las Rocas, close to Calella, a little cove, the Chiringuito, the clearest waters, and it's fabulous.
Your favourite restaurant?
There are several, but I think the perfect scenario would be early summer and one of the Chiringuitos on my nearest beach, which is Cabrera de Mar, so either Acamar or La Bruma.
Anything that you dislike about living here?
Yeah, I would say, and I think probably a lot of people agree with me, at the paperwork. Don't want to ever queue or try and wait for my NIE card or my Spanish driving license ever again. Your favourite part of Spain? I love Spain. I love so much of Spain, but it has to be Catalonia. It's got everything here.
What do you miss from home?
I would say I miss good supermarkets, a pub in winter, and sometimes a British sense of humour, although that's been a bit lacking recently.
And 3 words that describe your life here.
Family, fun, friends.